105.6 FM in Peter Maritzburg and audio streaming on www.alansar.org.za. Ahlan wa sahlan. Yes, my name is Sumaya Khan and we will be together with you. Unfortunately, our brother Yunus Sakur is on Umrah. Inshallah, he will definitely remember all our listeners of News in Focus this evening while he is in the holy place. Tonight, we unpack some of the most pressing political and economic developments shaping South Africa at home and abroad. From rapidly changing international political order to growing number of political cases in our country, the future of government, of provincial unity in KwaZulu-Natal, and the serious implication of a eThekwini municipality reportedly running out of cash. These are not just abstract issues. They affect governance, service delivery, economic stability, and the everyday lives of South Africans. So joining me tonight, our esteemed panelists, we have political analyst and economist who will be joining us later on this evening. We will be taking a short Nasheed ad break and we will continue.
The trucks have arrived and stocks are in. Yes, Wonder Dates have the largest variety of dates from Medina, Dubai, Iran, Tunisia, and Namibia. They stock a huge range of spices, nuts, dried fruit, and best of all, your Ramadan goodies at the best prices. So, for everything nutty, nibbly, chewy, munchy, spicy, sweet, sour, and savory, make a date with Wonder Dates, bringing the freshness of the farm to your home. Remember our new address, 9 Peters Road, Springfield Park, Durban. Contact us on 031 577 7722. Call now.
Listen to News in Focus on Radio Alansar, Durban 90.4 and Peter Marisburg 105.6 FM every Wednesday from 8 p.m. with Yunus Sakur. That's 8 p.m. every Wednesday, Radio Alansar, keeping you informed.
Did you look at the night, see the light of the moon? Did you look at the sun, giving you warmth? Did you look at the sky? Are you falling in love? It is from the Creator, you can't get enough. He is everywhere, and He knows we stay. Yes, He knows. Yes, He knows. He knows. You've got the world in your hands. He's the one who we're thanking for life. He is a Rahman. He is a Rahman. See the birds how they fly, feel the tears when you cry. He's the one who gives everything, he'll never leave you behind. 'Cause He's the one that always makes things better. And He's the one that always lives forever. He's everywhere. He knows we stay. Yes, He knows. Yes, He knows. You've got the world in your hands. You gotta thank Him for life. He is a Rahman. He is a Rahman. Oh, look from where you're standing. Look around yourself. Feel the love around you. You can't even tell how much He has given. Do you know what you're missing? He is a Rahman. Allah.
My faith in you will never fade. Master of the day of judgment and the creator of you and me. His ever warm and lasting love is what I need through all this madness. To leave a coming in my heart. Whenever you call, Him is there. If ever you need, Him is there. Right by your side. Thank you, Allah, for giving me all I have and for all that I am. La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. The messenger of Islam showed us the way, the perfect way of life.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, this is News in Focus with Sister Sumaya Khan. Tonight, as we mentioned, we are unpacking some of the most pressing political issues and economic developments shaping South Africa. Do you know, there are so much happening right here at home. We will be linking up right now with Andrea Duvenang, political analyst and NW University. Welcome to News in Focus.
Good evening, Sumaya. Yes, it's indeed a changing world we are in and far-reaching implications for South Africa.
Do you know, as I mentioned earlier on, tonight we're unpacking so much. When we are looking, a changing international political order and its impact on South Africa. Shift from an unipolar, may I say, a US-dominated world to a multipolar global order. Also, the rise of BRICS, global South influence, and alternative power blocks. Ongoing global conflicts, we're looking at Ukraine, Gaza, the Red Sea tension, and geopolitical instability. Not forgetting economic nationalism, sanctions, and trade realignments. Well, South Africa's non-alignment, to foreign policy stance, impact on trade and energy security and foreign investments. Pressure on SA to choose sides, when it's coming to geopolitically, the role of international in situations losing legitimacy. So the question is, how would you describe the current global political order? We're officially in a multipolar world.
Well, at the moment, it is a fast-changing world. And if we analyze these changes, there are a huge shift from the so-called West, referring to West Europe, towards the East, and also a lot of conflicts developing. And I'm only going to mention a few things. We know what happened in Venezuela a few weeks back. As we talk at the moment, we are on the brink of a war between the United States of America and Iran that can change the destiny of the Middle East and probably also other parts of the world. We are talking about a conflict between China and Taiwan. We are talking about changing relationship between Trump's America and Western Europe. And in the middle of all of this is South Africa. Now, South Africa is presenting itself as non-aligned, but that is not really the case. We are very much aligned to countries like Cuba, like Venezuela, North Korea, Iran, China, Russia. And all of these countries are in severe trouble at the moment. So the challenge for South Africa is to reposition itself in an ongoing, changing political environment.
Do you know, what would you say are the key drivers behind this global power shift?
Well, I think there's a number of factors. We have seen the end of the Cold War, and when the Cold War scenario ended, we have seen a rise in what we can call identity politics, of what Huntington called a clash of civilizations. And this resulted in an escalation of conflict and violence. There's also huge economic differences between specifically the northern part of the world and the southern part of the world. There are also fundamental ideological differences with capitalism, economic freedom on the one extreme, and social and political engineering or socialism, communism on the other side, which are basically conflicting idea systems. And then we have seen major demographic changes with a huge shift in demography towards the east. And to mention only one aspect, I think China has something like 1.3 plus billion people, but at the moment India has even more than them, I think 1.3 something. So there are huge changes in comparison to a Western world where the population is aging, where the population growth is very low, if not negative, like the case in Japan at the moment and in some European countries.
Do you know, where does South Africa, realistically fit into this changing global landscape?
Well, I think at the moment, we do not really fit. We try to make a fit with countries like China, Russia, Iran, Cuba, Venezuela, North Korea, and so on. And maybe I can just analyze the position of these states. Russia is in severe trouble as a result of the war with Ukraine, and we have seen Ukraine gaining, as a result of Western support, a lot of momentum in their war against Russia. And at the moment, there are serious trouble within Russia with Ukraine drones even attacking Moscow at some stages. When we look at China, as we talk now, there is a form of martial law going on. It seems as if there was a attempted coup d'etat going on in China, but the evidence and information is not clear, but it's a pattern of instability within an environment of major economic and demographic challenges. When we look at Iran, Iran is on the brink of a war with the US that I cannot see they can win. Venezuela was the support base for Cuba. Without the oil going to Cuba, Cuba is in crisis. We have seen a government change with the American intervention in Venezuela. So this is cutting South Africa off of its major allies. And at the moment, South Africa is in huge conflict with Western countries and in particular the Trump administration.
So would you say, is South Africa non-aligned position sustainable in the long term?
Well, I honestly don't think South Africa is really non-aligned. And there are two strong evidence that we are non-aligned. One of that was the visit of the Lady R to South Africa, which was classified under the security legislation, indicating a link to Russia. There are close ties with China. We have seen this naval exercise going around Simonstown a week or what ago, involving Iran, China, Russia, and so on. Interesting, India as well as Brazil, also BRICS countries, didn't participate. We have close relations with Iran. We didn't have good relations with the Western countries and specifically the United States of America. And just to give you one figure, the United States of America is commanding 20% of the world economy at this point in time.
So how do global conflicts affect South Africa, especially economically and politically?
At the moment, very negative. I think South Africa tried to be playing an active role on a certain side of the conflict. And in many ways, this is unproductive. You cannot fight a country like the United States of America. They are so much bigger than South Africa. We need to be part of the AGOA agreement. We need investments coming from the West. To make them into enemies is just not helping our case at this point. And to make a comparison, if you look at the Russian economy in size can be compared to Spain or Italy, which is relative small economies within a Western European context. That is not even within a global context. So I think at the moment, our strategy of non-alignment, which is basically an alignment with the countries I've mentioned, has as outcome a negative results for South Africa politically, economically, and internationally.
So, since we touched on BRICS, what does the rise of BRICS means for South Africa's future influence?
Well, I won't read too much into this. I think that in a way, South Africa is representing the African continent. We are clearly not in the league of countries like China, India, Brazil, and so on. And in that sense, I think if we just look at the G20, South Africa is not even within the category of the G20, economically speaking. We are closer to be among the first 40 countries in the world, probably around number 40 at this point in time. So it is not clear what our strategy are at this point. I think that the fact that we are part of BRICS is in a way giving us certain opportunities. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, it is presenting major challenges.
Prof. Duvana will be breaking for the Isha Salah, and we will continue with this conversation when we get back. Thank you.
100%.
The blessings of charity are the ideal means to avoid calamity and despair. The Al Imdad Foundation gives you the opportunity to sponsor a share in a borehole in South Africa for just 1,000 rand and provide what the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, called the best form of charity. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
This adhan is sponsored for the Isale Sawab of Marhum Muhammad Farooq Latib and all Marhumin. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them the highest abode in Jannah. Ameen.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة، حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله.
اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته وارزقنا شفاعته يوم القيامة إنك لا تخلف الميعاد.
This dua brought to you by Simplex Radio, South Africa's leading retailer of appliances, car sound and home theater systems.
These surahs after Azan are brought to you by Amina's Wonder Spice and Wonder Dates, 9 Peters Road, Springfield, Durban.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس.
Having a clean, comfortable home is every homeowner's pride. That's why Khan's Chemicals have developed and manufactured prime yet affordable quality household brands Starlight, Miracle Mum, Exterminate, and Angie to care for your home and family. With a wide range of fabric softeners, dishwashing liquids, bleachers, and all-purpose cleaners, pine gels, bubble baths, and much more, Khan's Chemicals ensures your home remains our number one priority. For sales and other inquiries, call 011 933 4021. Khan's Chemicals, cleaning your home the way you want.
Attention bargain hunters. The Simplex Radio Blitz sale is now on.
Upgrade your entertainment with unbeatable TV deals.
Get a Hisense 43-inch LED TV for just 2,999.
A Samsung 55-inch LED TV for 5,999.
A massive Samsung 70-inch LED TV for 8,999.
Or go big with an LG 86-inch LED TV for only 15,999.
Hurry! Limited stocks available.
Sale ends January 31st.
We guarantee to beat any advertised price or written quote.
Simplex Radio.
Simplex Radio, the name you can trust.
Get ready to elevate your fitness game at First Fitness in Durban's Berea. With a spacious free weight area, award-winning equipment, and exclusive ladies-only parking and training level, we've got everything you need to crush your goals. Hit the ground running on our outdoor track or unleash your inner warrior in our MMA and boxing dungeon. Plus, enjoy high security and ample parking. And don't forget to refuel at our Halal Coffee and Health restaurant for the best in coffees, smoothies, and healthy eats. Join us today and redefine your fitness journey. First Fitness, dare to be extraordinary.
Listen to News in Focus on Radio Al-Ansar, Durban 90.4 and Pietermaritzburg 105.6 FM every Wednesday from 8 p.m. with Yunus Sakur. That's 8 p.m. every Wednesday, Radio Al-Ansar, keeping you informed.
Ya Rasool Allah, Ya Habib Allah, Aka, 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 फिर के गली गली तबाह ठोकरे सब की खाए क्यों दिल को जो अक्ल दे खुदा तेरी गली से जाए क्यों रुखसत का फिदा का शान गश से हमें उठाए क्यों रुखसत का फिदा का शान गश से हमें उठाए क्यों सोते हैं उनके साए में सोते हैं उनके साए में कोई हमें जगाए क्यों दिल को जो अक्ल दे खुदा तेरी गली से जाए क्यों यादें हुजूर की कसम गफलत ऐश है सितम यादें हुजूर की कसम गफलत ऐश है सितम खूब है कैद गम में हम खूब है कैद गम में हम कोई हमें छुड़ाए क्यों वो जो न थे तो कुछ न था, वो जो न हो तो कुछ न हो, वो जो न थे तो कुछ न था, वो जो न हो तो कुछ न हो, जान है वो जहान की जान, है वो जहान की जान, है तो जहान गए आका 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 की खाए क्यों दिल को जो अक्ल दे खुदा.
Assalamu alaikum. You're listening to News in Focus with Sister Sumaya Khan. Yes, I'm your host this evening. Our brother Yunus Sakur is on his pilgrimage. Yes, he's gone to Umrah with his family. May the Almighty bless them, keep them safe, and may all their du'as get accepted, especially the ones which we have told them to remember for us. Tonight, we unpack some of the most pressing political and economic developments shaping South Africa at home and abroad. Our guest who we are linked up is with Professor Duganar. We were chatting about the shift from a unipolar to a US-dominated world to a multipolar global order. You know, the rise of BRICS, global South influence, and alternative power blocks, and the ongoing global conflicts, as in, you know, Ukraine, Gaza, Red Sea, and the tension. Prof, as we were chatting, you know, we touched on quite a few important areas of discussion. Going to sanctions, how do sanctions regimes globally impact emerging economies like ours, South Africa?
Well, I think South Africa's economy is very much dependent on trade relations and on investment. So the moment you are getting sanctions against you, it has a serious impact. The irony is that, in a way, the opposite is true to the United States of America, because as an economy, they are very much independent and self-reliant in many ways. But this is not the case with South Africa. So we are influenced in many ways by trade, international trade, trade relations. Is South Africa a priority? Is South Africa part of the AGOA agreement? Can we export certain products and get an international status and position? These are all factors that are influencing our economy and our economic growth. I thereby not saying that internal factors do not have an influence. In fact, on a scale, it's probably true that the internal factors are more important than the external factors, but the external factors are still very important.
What risk does South Africa face if global instability deepens?
Well, I don't think we only will experience risks. I think there's a lot of opportunities if there's international instability. And let's look at where that instability can be. It can be in the Middle East. In fact, it's already in the Middle East. It is in part of Asia with the war that's going on between Ukraine, Russia, and other states involved in that war. They can take that war to Western Europe. Western Europe are very much in conflict with Russia and states aligned to Russia. There's a conflict between China and Taiwan. There's a latent conflict between China and the United States of America. And South Africa at the moment are in relative isolation. So we can position ourselves out of trouble and in a position where we can benefit politically and economically. But then we need to be really non-aligned.
Can South Africa leverage this moment to strengthen trade with the global South?
I have no doubt that the South is important, and in many ways, ideologically speaking, the South is a priority. But we need to take into consideration that the major economies of the world is lying to the north. There may be exceptions to that rule, but the majority of them is towards the north. And therefore, the north is a critical role player when it comes to the economy, economic development, and economic growth. And I think we have a lot to offer in terms of trade, not only with the South, but also with the North. And we need to play the game and not be blinded by political ideology and certain sentiments which let us not work in terms of the national interest of South Africa.
Do you know, when you're looking at how it affects us, how does foreign policy affect local issues like the fuel prices and food security?
Well, there's no doubt that policies and foreign policy has an influence. But I would say it is one factor among many other factors. At the moment, when we look at South Africa's foreign policy, it is very much inconsistent. We have a certain policy with regard to X and completely different policy with regard to Y, and we are not a consistent factor as far as foreign policy is concerned. As far as the petrol price is concerned, I just read an article this morning that the prediction is that petrol price will go down with anything between 60 and 70 plus cent a liter. So that is a positive tendency, but this is not related only to South African conditions, although the rand dollar value and the relationship of that value is very important, but it's also influenced by the price of crude oil, and there are other factors playing a role in that regard.
So would you say, is South Africa seen as a credible international mediator?
Well, I think South Africa would like to present itself as a credible negotiator and mediator in world politics. We have seen that South Africa presented itself at several occasions to mediate and negotiate the situation between Israel and Hamas, between Russia and Ukraine, and other conflict situations throughout the world. But there's a number of factors counting against South Africa. The first one is South Africa doesn't have the power base. Secondly, South Africa is not really perceived as non-aligned, so we aren't objective. The perspective internationally is seen that South Africa is promoting its own political agenda. And we have seen that with the ANC government putting Robert Mugabe in power, despite the fact that he has lost a number of elections within Zimbabwe. So I would rather argue that South Africa is not very credible as far as negotiations and mediations are concerned.
So So what opportunities exist for South Africa in a fragmented global order?
Well, I think a number of opportunities. In the first place, we need to position ourselves strategically correctly. And at the moment, we are aligning with the wrong forces at the wrong time and not promoting our own interest. So it's a question of strategic alignment. Secondly, we have a lot of scarce resources that is in huge demand throughout the world, and we can use that in a strategic way. We can also build relationships not only with allies, but also with adversaries in order to promote our interests.
Yeah.
And then I think we can do a lot to promote our internal political situation. For example, we can work on levels of political stability, deal with the crime in South Africa, the high levels of corruption, work towards a scenario where growth is sustainable and on a high rate. These are factors that is supposed to under our own control, and I think we are not using the opportunities available.
So how does global politics influence domestic political narratives?
Well, if we look at history and we look at how Western sanctions had an impact on the apartheid dispensation in the 80s and forced the government to go to the negotiation table, it is a real factor.
Yeah.
We can at the moment see how huge international sanctions is influencing the Russian economy. So also the Iranian economy, and it has a huge impact on internal politics. And at the moment, South Africa is facing a scenario of possible sanctions and isolation due to our international relations, what is going on in the country. We have listened to the Trump administration criticizing South Africa for racially defined legislation. At the moment, there are something like about 140 racially defined legislations. Their approach, that is the South African government's approach towards minorities, the farm murders, that type of thing. So I think there's a lot we can do internally to promote our position externally.
Yeah. Since you touched on employment and global instability, could global instability worsen equality and unemployment locally?
Yes, definitely it can. Generally speaking, instability is a negative factor. It's going to influence the world economy. It may impact negatively on the international growth rate. And as a result of that, impact on the South African situation, although we aren't directly involved in conflicts like Russia, Ukraine, what is going on in the Middle East, and other examples. So yes, it can have an impact, but there are ways to navigate these situations. And if you do it in a fine way, you can even benefit from this. But then you need to be open-minded. You need to follow approaches like a rational choice approach, that type of approach, not ideologically committed to a set of ideals that are basically outdated.
Yeah. So what should South Africa prioritize diplomatically when we're looking going forward?
Well, I would, if I was advisor of the president, I would seriously advise him to renegotiate the position with Western countries, including the United States and in particular the United States of America. It's not to accept Donald Trump and his style and his approach. There's a lot more at stake in terms of general relationships and what we can benefit. I will also build bridges to Western countries like the major forces in Western Europe. But at the same time, I will continue building bridges towards places like India, China, Brazil, and there are other countries throughout the world. And that basically boils down to an approach of non-alignment. And at the moment, as I mentioned earlier, I don't think we are really non-aligned.
Prof. Duveneer, I'd like to thank you so much for the discussion and your input and enlightening us. It was a pleasure linking up with you. Good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're listening to News in Focus, hosted with me, Sumaya Khan. Yes, that was Prof. Political analysis. You know, when you think about it, what he's saying makes so much sense. You know, the impact on trade, energy, security, and foreign investment, pressure on South Africa to choose sides. How will we be choosing sides? And the sides we choose or the sides we support, how will it affect South Africa? So the role of international situations is, losing legitimacy. So how do we go about doing that? Yes, this evening you are listening to News in Focus with me, Sumaya Khan. Our topic this evening is number of political cases in South Africa, which we still got to discuss, faith of GPU in KZN and what it means for citizens of KZN, implication of Tekwini municipality running out of cash. Well, what's new? And the recent protesting by contractors about non-payment. Our guest to come in studio is Hassan Mutala, our economist and asset manager, and Samuel Kennedy, our political analysis. We'll be taking a short Nasheed break.
Radio Al Ansar, Durban, 90.4 FM, Peter Maritzburg, 105.6 FM.
An informative Islamic global perspective. This is Al Ansar News.
Making news this hour, the 28th of January, the news from Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Maritzburg 105.6 FM. Inkatha Freedom Party IFP expresses support for KwaZulu-Natal to be renamed KwaZulu, American Monina. The IFP Inkatha Freedom Party in the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Legislature supports King Mrs. Lucas Welitini's call to rename the province KwaZulu. The Zulu monarch says Natal should be dropped from the province's name while speaking at the commemoration of the Battle of Isandwana in Nguntu. The IFP says the proposal is timely and rooted in history. It says the current name is a compromise that fails to reflect the full significance of the Zulu kingdom. IFP spokesperson Blessed Gwala says it is an opportunity to correct historical distortions, including the current use of the name Ngungundlovu. Gwala added that the spelling of other areas such as Mbunguntwini and Kopo is also problematic. He says place names carry history, meaning, and collective memory. He added that when place names are written correctly, they restore linguistic integrity, affirm cultural heritage, and honor the lived experiences of local communities. Last week, Amazulu King Mrs. Lucas Welitini called for the word Natal to be dropped from the KwaZulu-Natal's name. He says the province should be simply known as KwaZulu. More news at Tekwini says despite intermittent outages in some parts, the city's overall water supply remains stable. The municipality says part of the southern region are experiencing disruptions due to the ongoing pipe connection work on the southern aqueduct, as well as occasional bursts in the existing pipeline. In a statement, the city says water supply in the outer western areas remains stable, while other parts of the system continue to experience erratic service. This comes after the shutdown of the 53 pipeline for repairs following a burst, although many northern communities are reporting a steady water supply. Improvements have been noted in Ntuzuma and the surrounding areas following the recommissioning of the Ntuzuma 2 pump station. However, some areas relying on the said pump station are still affected by ongoing vandalism of pressure-reducing valves. The city says areas such as the Trenance Park face frequent supply interruptions due to to power outages and heightened seasonal demand. Some communities remain without piped water because of limited formal water infrastructure and uncontrollable population growth. While water tankers are drafted to communities, the city says they are committed to consistent and reliable water supply. More news. The Department of KwaZulu-Natal Cooperative Governance says it will intervene again at Impendle local municipality. This comes after staff salaries were not paid this month. This is the third time in less than a year that the MEC Thulasizwe Buthelezi has had to intervene. Local media says there were issues over payment in December and May last year, 2025. The MEC Buthelezi says he's concerned about the municipality's inability to meet its financial obligations. The MEC will be visiting the municipality today. Meanwhile, the South African Municipal Workers Union in KwaZulu-Natal has condemned the non-payment of salaries, calling it inconsiderate and inhumane. And finally, international story. Oxfam, an humanitarian organization, says it will not disclose the personal details of its Palestinian staff to Israel, citing its army deadly attacks in Gaza that have killed hundreds of aid workers. As part of a crackdown on NGOs providing life-saving aid to Palestinians, Israel last year in 2025 demanded that some of the world's best-known charities working in Gaza, the occupied West Bank, and also in East Jerusalem hand over detailed information about their Palestinian and international staff operations and funding. On the 1st of January, Israel withdrew the licenses of 37 aid groups, including the Norwegian Refugee Council, International Rescue Committee, and Oxfam, saying they failed to adhere to the new security and transparency standards. But Oxfam says it will not share details or any data about its Palestinian employees to Israel. Your financial indicators ran to the dollar 15 rands 88, euro it's 19 rands 3 cents, and the British pound 21 rands 89. Your weather 32 degrees. A quick reminder of our top story. The IFP in KwaZulu-Natal, the provincial legislature, supports King Mrs. Zuluka's in his call to rename the province KwaZulu. That's the news.
The views and opinions expressed by the guest and presenters of Radio Al Ansar are not necessarily the views and opinions of Radio Al Ansar and the Al Ansar Foundation.
This segment is brought to you by Kenfield Auto, your RMI approved service and repair specialist. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport.
Kenfield Auto.
اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك كما صليت على آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على آل إبراهيم.
Car won't start?
Kenfield Auto.
Noisy brakes?
Kenfield Auto.
Due for a service?
Kenfield Auto.
Kenfield Auto, the answer to all your car problems. Your service and repair specialist for your VW, Audi, Suzuki, Toyota, or just about any vehicle. Kenfield Auto, your RMI and insurance approved workshop. Follow the red and white board in the passage at 236 Brickfield Road, Overport. Call Shafi on 031 207 2399. Kenfield Auto.
One child, one dream.
A journey with Africa Muslims Agency that began 3 years ago has changed the lives of Syrian and Palestinian refugee children beyond their dreams. Help them to continue their education by sponsoring a student at the Amman School of Excellence in Lebanon for 25,200 Rand per year. Education at Amman can provide a brighter future for refugee families.
AMA, empowering, educating, inspiring.
Kunutu Nazila is proudly brought to you by Nona's Italian Kitchen, Strada Street Food, and the Magnum Capino Treat Store. Oh Allah, guide me and grant me well-being with those whom you have granted well-being.
اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا شر ما قضيت فإنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك وإنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت.
Kunut Nazila is proudly brought to you by Nona's Italian Kitchen, Strata Street Food, and the Magnum Capino Treat Store. Oh Allah, guide me and grant me well-being with those whom you have granted well-being.
Ciao, amici. Welcome to Nonna's Italian Kitchen. Here, you enter my Nonna Maria's warm embrace. Each dish crafted with love. Ah, fresh herbs, homemade pizza and pasta. It's a family tradition. Come taste our pizza and pastas, made with the finest Italian tomatoes, stone ground flour, and local freshness. Mange Mange. Celebrate life and family around the table with a taste of Italy at Gateway in Mhlanga, Flora Road, Durban, and Nelson Mandela Square, Gauteng. Vi aspetto. I'll be waiting for you.
Allah, 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 تنہا ہوں میں اور امتحان لاکھوں تنے ہیں سامنے بیٹھا ہوں میں مایوس کن آئے نہ کوئی مجھے تھامنے اللہ اللہ تو میری سن لے صدا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير مایوب ہوں تیرا کرم پردہ رکھا عزت بھی دی بڑھ کے دیا اوقات سے دولت بھی طاقت بھی اور وقت بھی کر دے خطا ہر معاف تو فہرست اسیاں کو چھوڑ دے اللہ اللہ تو میری سن لے صدا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير رنگینیوں خود غرضیوں میں ہے گزاری یہ عمر ہے آرزو بس ایک یہی کر دوں تیرے نام شام و سحر تسکین دل حاصل کروں رخ اپنی جانب تو موڑ دے اللہ اللہ تو میری سن لے صدا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير لب پہ رہے ذکر و دعا اور تجھ سے میں ڈرتا رہوں کر کے عمل قرآن پہ جنت کی راہوں پہ چلتا رہوں خدمت کروں اسلام کی پچھتاوے کا غم توڑ دے اللہ اللہ تو میری سن لے صدا
حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, welcome back to News in Focus. You're listening to Sister Sumaya Khan, and my host, Brother Yunus Sakur, is away on Umrah. Inshallah, may all his du'as be answered, and may all the du'as that we have told him and his family to make for us also be answered. Well, we're missing him in studio, but the show goes on. We were talking earlier on with Prof about the shift from a unipolar to a US-dominated world to a multipolar global order. We also chatted about the rise of BRICS, global South influence, and alternative power blocks. We actually also chatted on the main topic, a changing international political order and its impact on South Africa. And he took us quite in depth. We have our analyst who is in studio, Brother Hassan Mutala. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to News in Focus. I was waiting for you to come. It was an empty house.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Definitely a little bit different without Mr. Sakuria today.
Well, alhamdulillah, we definitely played all his nasheeds. So I think his listeners are thoroughly enjoying the show. There's so much happening in South Africa right now from money point of view. Tell us about the Rand. Good news for especially those who want to travel. Good news for us South Africans. The Rand is strengthening.
Yes. Look, I think there's a couple of key things we need to understand. Firstly, in terms of yes, you're right. Those that are traveling, whether you're going for Umrah, you're going overseas on whether it's a holiday, vacation, whatever it may be. And also very importantly, in the next, 2 months or so, we're going to get Hujjaj that are, in fact, they're now starting to sort out their packages on this Nusuk app and the like, and they're going to be paying in Saudi riyals and the like, which is effectively pegged to the US dollar. So very importantly, what we have seen, the Rand has strengthened by around 25% over the past 15 to 16 months. It's had quite a substantial strengthening over a period of about 1.5 years or so. And it's a massive impact for the Rand in a relatively short space of time. Now, whether it hasn't been all because of the improving situation in South Africa. Yes, there has been some positives in terms of our economy, our structures, our improvements in certain key parastatals or public enterprises and the like. But the major driver of it has been effectively the US. The fact that when Trump has come in and some of the policies and the decisions and the like that he has done has led to the dollar weakening against not only the Rand, but weakening against most major currencies throughout the world. So whether it's against the Turkish lira or the British pound or the euro and the like, the US dollar is weakened against most major currencies across the globe, and South Africa has been a beneficiary of that. Now, there are positives and negatives in terms of the Rand. So for the ordinary person out there are some really good positives. What are they? Firstly, think about your cost of transport. That in the last 6 months or so, you've seen the cost of your petrol has come down quite significantly. In fact, more than 20% during the past year, the cost of your petrol has come down during that period of time. And in fact, this coming week or next week, there's an expectation, I think, for another 60 or 65 cents decrease in the petrol price. Again, another benefit for us. So that's a benefit in terms of the transport and your fuel costs having come down. Secondly, we do import other products as well. So not necessarily only oil, but there are other commodities and other minerals that we do import into the country. And when you have a stronger Rand, it benefits in terms of those products that you are importing. It reduces the cost. So for example, automobiles. Just look at the number of Chinese motor vehicles in the country. In this the January, I think people are waiting for January to get the new deliveries of the new cars because they want to start off on the 2026 year. The number of Chinese vehicles I was just seeing in the last 2 weeks doing the school runs, phenomenal.
And they're really quite beautiful.
And they good quality, decent, very nice looking cars, value for money. And the strengthening of the rand has actually benefited the importing of that. That's why you actually started to see. I saw an article, I think yesterday, that now South Africa is considering. So currently, South Africa implements a duty of 25% on all vehicles that are normally imported from the likes of China and India.
Yeah.
They're looking at increasing that to 50% potentially. The reason being is the impact that the imported vehicles are having on our manufacturing businesses here in South Africa. So, for example, Toyota, VW, Nissan. For example, Nissan, their plant that they have in Pretoria is now going to be taken over by one of the Chinese automobile manufacturers. So it just gives you an idea that Chinese are making a massive impact in terms of the vehicles. And again, the stronger rand benefits the consumer from that perspective. I think the third point to highlight in terms of a stronger rand, which is good, is that you do also see in terms of stability, in terms of the fiscal situation. Now, remember, we had a very, very tough number of years. Now, South Africa has had to borrow a lot of debt and borrow loans and take on debt over the last 10 years in terms of a country. Some of those loans were also in foreign currencies as well. Now, when you have a stronger rand, paying off some of that debt becomes a lot cheaper as well, because when you're paying $1 at 18 rand versus paying $1 at 16 rand, it's a better benefit to you because you're taking less rands to pay the interest and to pay the debt off as well. Again, it benefits us in terms of the fiscal situation.
Tell me, what factors contribute to the strengthening of the rand?
So the key has been obviously the weakening of the US dollar. And what are the major drivers of the weakening of the US dollar? Trump's policies, firstly, geopolitical policies, and then secondly, some of the economic policies. Geopolitics. What's been happening in terms of Venezuela? What's been happening in terms of Iran? And we don't know still what's going to happen now. What's happening in terms of other countries that he threatens in terms of tariffs, whether it's 50% on India or 30% on South Africa and the like. So some of these issues, and the fact is the Americans are also borrowing a hell of a lot as well. So they're borrowing more than they're generating in terms of revenue. With the result, people are now becoming concerned about the US. So therefore, for example, people used to invest, countries like China, the Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, that used to invest also a lot into the government bonds of America. Now they're reducing that. They're investing it in gold. And we're going to touch a bit on that there, I think, which is an important part around gold and silver. But that's been also a driver of that. So the main reasoning has been the fact that America has had a challenge and they've seen a weakening of their currency rather than more a South African driven story.
Tell me,
sure,
a stronger rand, does it affect inflation?
100%. So firstly, inflation is now coming down because transport costs are coming down. And you see it also across other commodities that we import. So whether it's food products, sometimes, there's certain cereals or chocolates and the like that's being imported. Or there's certain commodities that go into food products that you import, whether it's wheat and those type of things. Those are coming down. That impacts inflation. Now, unfortunately, inflation for certain foods are still very high, like red meat. We spoke about it last week, beef in particular, because of the foot and mouth disease. And you've seen it also in terms of lamb and mutton, also prices have gone up. But across various other products, rice, which is a big imported product in the country, that has come down. You go into the, I normally monitor when we shop and with my wife and we see, you've seen that the cost of the things of like rice and those things have actually come off and is very stable. So what it was some time back. So again, the stronger rand benefits us in terms of bringing inflation under control.
Okay.
Where you get, I think, some negative issues or negative challenges around a stronger rand. Firstly, in terms of our exports. So we export, for example, whether it's automobiles, whether it's our minerals like gold, platinum, iron ore, those type of minerals. When you're exporting those type of stuff, it impacts, or even grapes,
Yeah.
fruit, those type of products as well. A stronger rand impacts the farmers because they're getting, for example, every dollar, instead of getting 18 rands, they're now getting 16 rands.
Hmm.
So it does impact those businesses that are export focused and export oriented. Secondly, it impacts our manufacturers in the country. I'll
Yeah.
give you an example. So we talked about the automobile sector. Why they're having to close certain of the, like Nissan is closing its plant because it doesn't make sense, and they're looking at importing some of their products because they cannot compete in terms of at the rand at 16 rands to export out of the country is not very competitive. They need more like a 17, 18 and the like. So it is impacting the manufacturing, automobile, the agricultural sector, but even, for example, the textile sector. Our textile manufacturers here, particularly KZN, when you're manufacturing, competing against the imports from China and Vietnam and those places, the imports are now becoming cheaper relative to the manufactured products into the country as well. So I think the stronger rand has certain impacts, but I think net, it is also a positive, and we must look at it that way. One very important point of the stronger rand, our tourism numbers are booming.
Yeah.
We've had record numbers last year. And I think hopefully 2026, inshallah, should be another good year, barring any major political mishaps globally or locally and the like. But you're seeing it. Why? Firstly, we've got a beautiful country. There's a lot to see in terms of whether it's the Western Cape or KZN or the Drakensberg or even the Kruger National Park, although you've had now the heavy rainfalls and floodings, particularly in the Kruger Park and the like. But nonetheless, think about the visitors that are coming from America, Europe, or even Asia, whether it's China, India, those countries. For them, before it was a lot cheaper, but they are starting to see that there's still value in terms of South Africa. So they're coming into our country and the like. So tourism is booming, despite in fact that we're seeing the stronger rand. But you're seeing more flights coming to the country.
Why might exporters be unhappy when the rand strengthens?
So, for example, an exporter that exports oranges, for example, to the US. He's got his big batch of seasoned fruit that's coming out.
Yeah.
He's agreed to a price to export it to a supermarket, for example, Walmart in the US. He's agreed that for the season, he's going to export 100 tons of oranges at a price of $2 per kilo. Give you an example, $2 per kilo. When he priced it at $2 per kilo when he was doing it, he was expecting at that time the rand was around 18 rand. So he said, hey, $2 times 18, I'm getting 36 rand a kilo for my oranges that I'm exporting to the US. So the cost of those oranges for him could be maybe 30 rand a kilo. He's selling it at 36 rand a kilo. He's making 6 rand a kilo profit that he's exporting it, when it's 18 rand to the dollar. Now, all of a sudden, the rand's gone to 16 rand to the dollar.
Yeah.
So $2 times 16 is 32 rands. 32 minus 30, instead of 6 rand of a kilo of profit, he's making now only 2 rand a kilo of profit.
Wow.
It has a big impact. So unless they obviously, set the exchange rate and take cover and the like, if they're relying on the spot rate when they're exchanging, it does impact the exporters and our agricultural sector in particular, but the manufacturers of automobiles or whether it's, our clothing and those type of products and the like that are exporting out of the country, it does impact us quite a bit. The one thing though is our travelers now in terms of the stronger rand, as you said, you're going to Umrah, you're going to Al-Aqsa or you're going to Hajj, it has a good positive impact for you because the cost of your hotels, your accommodation, you're paying it in riyals or dirhams or euros or dollars. It's cheaper now because you're from 18 to 16. But also when you're spending there and when you're eating out, those places are very expensive, especially when you go to whether it's Europe or America or even, the Middle East, Saudi and those places. When you're spending it, Saudi riyal now is 4.5 rand to 1 Saudi riyal. Not too long ago, it was 5 rand 50 for 1 Saudi riyal. It benefits us that change from 550 to 450. It has a big impact in terms of our bottom pocket as well, and our back pocket as well, and it impacts us from that perspective.
Well, Brother Hassan would tell for everyone who's listening right now why it's so important and why we should be so happy that the Rand is strengthening, especially with us in South Africa. I don't know when last we heard such good news. We'll be taking a short Nasheed break and then we'll be linking up with Brother Samuel Kennedy, our political analysis.
Durban Halal Meats, the butcher with a twist. Whether you're firing up the braai or stocking up for your business, we've got you covered. From premium lamb, beef and chicken to custom cuts and bulk orders, all 100% halal certified by Sanha. Enjoy our convenient buy and braai service, fast delivery and easy online ordering at durbanhalalmeats.co.za. Visit us at 84 Felix Dlamini Road, Durban Halal Meats. Quality, affordability, trust. Meat made better.
Eid is coming and every child dreams of dressing up. But sadly, many little ones might not. Join me, Razia Rangrage. And me, Fatima Karim. As we race to clothe every deserving child this Eid. For just 1,000 Rand, you can give a complete outfit. Zakat and Lillah welcome. Call Outreach now on 031-208-1601 and bring joy to a child's Eid.
Plan your dream holiday with the specialist, World of Travel, as we pride ourselves in offering you the best in Hajj and Umrah. We also offer travel packages to the Middle East, Far East, and many more exotic destinations. Call our professional travel consultants now on 031-20-888-77 or view our website www.worldoftravel.co.za. Visit us at 44 Crescent Street as memorable journeys begin with World of Travel by Irshad Malik.
We guarantee to beat any advertised price or written quote. Yes, you heard right.
So head down to Simplex Radio and get the best deals in town.
Grab a Midea 20-liter microwave for just $5.99.
A Defy oven and hob combo at $44.99.
A Samsung 19 kg top loader for $74.99.
Or a stylish Smeg kettle or toaster for $23.99 each.
Hurry, offers valid until January 31st. Simplex Radio, the name you can trust.
तमन्ना है शहरों का सरदार देखो मदीना की गलियां वो बाजार देखो जहां भेज दी रब ने जन्नत बनाकर हबीबे खुदा का वो दरबार देखो तरसती हैं आंखें जिन्हें देखने को वो गुंबद वो जाले वो मीनार देखो गमों में गुजारी है ये जिंदगानी खुशी के वहाँ दिन मैं दो चार देखूं सैयदना सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम तमन्ना है शहरों का सरदार देखो मदीना की गलियां वो बाजार देखो जहां भेज दी रब ने जन्नत बनाकर हबीबे खुदा का वो दरबार देखो तरसती हैं आंखें जिन्हें देखने को वो गुंबद वो जाले वो मीनार देखो गमों में गुजारी है ये जिंदगानी खुशी के वहाँ दिन मैं दो चार देखूं सैयदना सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम तमन्ना है शहरों का सरदार देखो मदीना की गलियां वो बाजार देखो जहां भेज दी रब ने जन्नत बनाकर हबीबे खुदा का वो दरबार देखो तरसती हैं आंखें जिन्हें देखने को वो गुंबद वो जाली वो मीनार देखूं गमों में गुजारी है ये जिंदगानी खुशी के वहाँ दिन मैं दो चार देखूं सल्ले अला सय्यिदिना सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम तमन्ना है शहरों का सरदार देखो मदीना की गलियां वो बाजार देखो जहां भेज दी रब ने जन्नत बनाकर हबीबे खुदा का वो दरबार देखूं
Assalamu alaikum. You're listening to News in Focus with me, Sumaya Khan. And in studio, we have Brother Hassan Mutala. And we're linking up with Brother Samuel Kennedy. How are you, Samuel?
Sumaya, sorry, are we live?
Yes, we live. We're live on air.
Thank you. Sorry, I got caught up with some issues, and so my apologies to the listeners.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We do have you in studio. Do you know, the growing number of political cases in South Africa, increase in corruption, fraud, and state capture related cases, you know, the slow pace of prosecutions and accountability, public trust in the justice system. We can go on and on every week talking about this. The role of the NPA, the FOUCS, and so many other institutions, organizations, political interference versus independence of institutions, selective justice perception, the impact on governance and investor confidence, political cases as tools for factional battles. Well, you are the person to ask these questions and can tell us more about in our discussions. Why are we seeing an increase in political cases now?
When you say, can I respond?
Yes.
Yeah, when you say political cases, just help me understand which ones are we talking about?
There's so many, but we can talk about the one currently that's happening and which is quite right now. You know, when we're looking at the Mkhwanazi.
Okay, so you're talking about the ad hoc committee.
Yeah, that's quite. It's quite right now, and many are scared after the press statement where the commission has resolved to lead evidence about Mkhwanazi, you know, threatening messages and allegations, and everyone's scared. The whistleblowers, everyone is quiet. So, yeah. So, what's going on there?
Look, I think the situation in South Africa is as follows. Right? We have a dysfunctional law and order. And the reason why we have a dysfunctional law and order is because political parties in power control law and order. Meaning the law is not equal, it's only equal for others. So if you don't have money, you get treated poorly, and if you have money, you can actually manipulate the system. Right? And that's why when you see everything coming out in this justice system, it's because lawyers, advocates, judges are all on the take. And that's the sad reality. Political hits, political murders, corruption. It's just it's the worst we find. Literally, it's like Haiti.
Yeah.
It's like we're living in a place of absolute lawlessness. And the only thing that can change that is voters. Voters have got to go to the ballot box and they're going to change the system. And how do you change the system? You've got to vote out people who perpetuate. I mean, how many political murders have we got? People are being killed left, right, and center. People are driving without driving licenses. People are driving under the influence. People are being. I mean, you see, listening to some of the generals as a voter. If you're listening, if a voter sitting listening to a general who's corrupt, how are we going to solve this country's problems? So the only way that can change is voters need to take over the system. In other words, don't vote for what you got. Same with tenders. Tenders is corrupt. Everywhere, everything. I mean, you go and put a tender in, you got to pay 5 million, you got to pay 2 million extra, you got to do this, you got to do that. Come here. So I'm saying, I mean, you listen to Madlanga Commission. We've had probably 10 commissions in the last 30 years. Nothing's changed. Money should not determine justice. That's the bottom line.
Do you know, would you say...
and slowly, and slowly, South Africa is waking up to a reality where we have a situation where a political party that was in power has gone from 69% down to 39%. And that's good for democracy.
Caesar.
So all I'm saying is the power is in our hands as ordinary citizens.
Do you think political cases weaken the governance capacity?
Absolutely. Who's going to have faith in the system? When people, you can go and buy people to kill other people. I mean, what nonsense is that?
And it's
nowhere in a democratic state you have a situation where somebody can go and buy somebody to kill somebody. The law is there to protect you, me, and everybody. It cannot be that the law is caught up in corruption.
Yeah.
I mean, now we're hearing from a general that whether it's true or false, but the facts of the matter are coming out, that the general sorted out a bulletproof vest tender. It's wrong. At Tigwini, same story. Everywhere. South Africa is one of the wealthiest countries on the continent. It's nothing to do with foreigners, it's to do with us. We run government, not foreigners. Foreigners is just a way of venting. Now you work it out. We've got a lot of South Africans in Dubai, in Saudi. We've got all over the globe. Right? Not only South Africans, people from India, people from Pakistan, people from all over. Imagine if those people said, no foreigners, foreigners must go. It's not the foreigners. It's us. We got to make the law. We got to close the borders. We got to have no corruption. Right? Everything rests with South Africans. Foreigners are not stealing bulletproof vest tenders. They're not stealing 800 million at Tembisa Hospital. Right? We are the ones that are doing it. And if Hassan's in the studio,
yes, he is.
Now that the kwacha, Zambian kwacha, it's more powerful than the rand.
Yeah.
Sorry? Hello?
Samuel, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right. Look, there has been strengthening in major currencies as well. Correct.
But that includes Botswana.
Correct.
Zimbabwe's economy is growing faster than ours.
Yeah.
Even though they're coming off a small base by far. Because investors no longer have faith in our system. They have faith in our people, but they have no faith in the system. Because we have allowed the system to be porous.
So what role does civil society play in pushing accountability?
It's radio stations, it's economic analysts like Hassan Makala, like myself. It's many people who have the guts to say to South Africans, the only way you can change this downward spiral is to remove those who are corrupt. Now I'll give you an example, right? And I don't want to talk about it, but I'm just giving you an example. The South African electoral IT system was designed by a company called Dominion Voting Systems. Do you know it was developed? Venezuela. You can go Google it, you can do your research. Dominion Voting Systems have just been removed from America because the system is easy to manipulate. Right? And who's the chairman of Dominion Voting Systems in South Africa? Dr. Brigalia Bam. And who's Dr. Brigalia Bam? She was the chairman of the IEC. Things that we need to get right. Even former President Mbeki said, and Hassan is there, he's an economist, he'll tell you, we try to capture SARS. We captured Eskom. Right? We captured Portnet, captured Transnet. eThekwini captured. Maritzburg is literally on its knees, it's finished. This week, eThekwini, I mean, you've seen the demonstrations. They haven't paid their contractors for 4 months. It's got to change. And it rests with you and me. Stay if you want to. That's all I'm saying.
You know, let's touch a bit of the faith of government of provincial unity in KZN. You know, we know there's a fragile coalition in KwaZulu-Natal, competing party or ideologies within the GPU, and also stability versus inability in provincial governance. You know, we're looking at the impact of service delivery in provincial budgets, public confidence in coalition governments, you know, power sharing tensions, risk of collapse or reshuffling, and long-term implications for national coalition in politics. How stable in the government of provincial unity in KZN, how stable are they at this point, especially in KZN?
Well, it's a very, very, very good question, and I'm sure Hassan has probably given a very good economic outlook that we we, for the first time, probably since 2004, have been able to recover economically as a province. I mean, we couldn't pay teachers, we couldn't pay contractors, and so by the Almighty's design, we had a DA running finance and public works, right? And we had a split government. What we got on the table right now is a majority party in KZN wanting to take over for whatever the reason. Now, that doesn't sound too well for investors.
Yeah.
Because, but history is the best experience, correct?
Exactly.
The history of leadership under former President Jacob Zuma is not a good one. Now, imagine you sitting wanting to put 100 million into South Africa, and you're sitting overseas saying, well, the political outlook doesn't sit too good. So if I put my 100 million in or my 1 million in, will I get a return on my investment? Whether or not it happens or not, history to the investor, these new guys are going to take over our bad news. And secondly, they've governed before this party. We have to be fair to the people who... That's the situation. That's the outlook.
Yeah. What would success look like for the government of provincial unity?
It's out of your hands and my hands and the voters' hand. We at the mercy of the gods, supreme being. We have a that's going to determine the destiny of 14 million citizens. One seat party. And they're not changing the government because they have of the voters at heart. They only want to change the government because they want to get something out of it. So they're holding 14 million people to ransom. Those are the facts. Right? And I know them, some of them personally. Right? We cannot be run as a country by bartering. We must be run, and Hassan knows. He sees the economics around the world all the time. We're going to end up like Ecuador, Colombia, Haiti, Cuba, right? Where there's no law and order. In fact, there's no government. Because we as voters have allowed the situation to become untenable.
Yeah.
Well, we've got to take ownership, and that ownership starts now in 2026. You've got to look at the political landscape and say, who represents my interest? Safety, security, economic stability, right? Future prospects for your children, your grandchildren, economic outlook in terms of investors. Are we investable? Right? Those are the things that enables us to grow as a country, to bring sanity. But if we allow it to run to the dogs, and that's an expression, then I'll tell you what, we'll end up where there's absolutely no control. The judiciary is under control, right? And we even worse than third world. In fact, places like Bangladesh will even be better than us.
Brother Kennedy, Samuel Kennedy, thank you so much for linking up with us. Missed you in studio. And, right now you gave us food for thought. What is going to be the outcome in the days to come? Will just have to wait and see. But again, as you said, the common civil servant needs to take accountability, and we, the people of South Africa, need to push for positive change and good, righteous leaders. Thank you once again for linking up with us.
Thank you, Sumaya, and thank you to Hassan. Thanks for Hassan for a good job there while Yunus is away. And we will make sure that we keep the values, we keep the integrity of Al Ansar flying high. We have a lot of listeners, tens and tens of thousands of listeners who listen to this show for advice, for guidance. And we must continue doing what we're doing.
Thank you.
Without fear, without favor.
Well, you are part of this show, part and parcel. So hopefully looking forward to have you again next week in studio with Brother Hassan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
much. Shukran.
Shukran. Well, that was our political analysis, Brother Samuel Kennedy. Well, Hassan, he said it, increase in corruption, fraud, state capture. We, the people, need to do something. We need to make change for righteous leadership, because when there's corruption, it filters down right through to their office, on that table. And so impact on governance and investor confidence, again, it ripples everywhere. Going back, we discussed the rand. Everyone is happy, especially those who are going on holiday. But again, gold is good, but silver is doing excellent.
Sure. Zakat calculations are coming up shortly.
I was going to mention that.
So I think, obviously, generally, many Muslims out there during the month of Ramadan tends to be the time when they do the zakat calculations. And, I think this year there's going to be a jump, especially, those that are holding Kruger coins, their gold jewelry and the like. And more recently, people have also been buying some silver coins. There's been a lot of silver coins.
What is the gold, the Krugerrang 1 ounce? It's like about 78,000?
So in rand terms, in dollar terms, it's at the moment, it's $5,200 an ounce. So if you times it by, let's just have a look quickly.
Yeah.
In rand terms, it's at 5,250 times 16. It's 84,000 rands.
Close.
84,000. Can you believe it? Not too long ago, we were talking about 40,000 rands. Like, it's gone up a hell of a lot. I mean, silver's gone up also. Silver's at $110 an ounce. Not too long ago. I mean, I'm talking really not too long ago. $40 and the like was where silver was. And you're talking now $110 an ounce. It's gone up exceptionally well.
And,
so I think that the key is this year. There are concerns globally around what is happening in the world, whether it's the likes of, the rule-based order system that we were fed and led to believe by the Western nations, the United Nations, NATO's, and the likes of the world. We realized, and people are realizing, that in the last few years with the war in Gaza, what's happening in terms of the US doing what it did in Venezuela, talking about Greenland, talking about bombing Iran and the like, it's sort of, that's being thrown out of the window. So the faith and the trust in the currencies of some of the major world powers, particularly the US dollar, people have lost trust and faith in that. With the result, there's been a substantial increase in purchasing of gold and silver, not only by central banks across the world. So major central banks, China's central bank, Japan's central bank, the British central bank, many central banks have been buying this to shore up their reserves. But ordinary investors, retail investors out there, and the like, have been buying Kruger coins, whether it's gold Kruger coins or silver Kruger coins. They've been buying a lot of it over the last year or two. And you've seen driving this price. With silver, the difference as well between silver and gold. Gold is largely a store of value, and people hold it as a store of value, and to ensure that it maintains itself and can be relied upon, especially when systems such as your fiat systems and the likes come under pressure. Silver has dual value, where it can be relied upon as a store of value, but it's also used for an industrial purpose. So therefore, I think silver has huge amount of still potential in terms of, I think, look, prices have gone up ridiculously over that while. But the fact is silver is both a store of value and also utilized in the industrial process. And therefore, the amount of silver that is available, physical quantity relative to what people are trading it in terms of paper, there's a huge mismatch.
Yeah.
So therefore, I think, the reason that you've seen this massive increase, silver alone this month is up 60% in 1 month. 60%. Gold is up 25% 1 month in dollar terms. These are massive. We're seeing a time at the moment which we haven't seen in many years.
Yeah.
Because of the geopolitics and what's happening globally. You're seeing it being played out in these precious metals such as gold and silver. And I think people are concerned with the global environment that we are in. Fortunately for South Africa, we do produce a reasonable amount of gold, not what we used to, but at least we still produce a reasonable amount. But also we produce a significant amount of platinum. And that has been helping us in terms of the prices that we've seen for gold and platinum is resulting in our country earning a lot of revenues through this hard currency over the past year, which is good for the country because come the budget next month by the Minister of Finance, Inogonongwana, there's a reasonable probability that will be a better budget than expected, where there'll be a slightly lower deficit, and therefore the expectations for further tax increases, I don't think we will probably get expectations for any tax increases, which is good for us. Last year we were talking about VAT increases. They were talking about, other forms of increases. I think that hopefully is going to be put on the sideline come next month, because there could be a good windfall in terms of tax revenues from the mining companies into the FOUCS, and therefore it gives the minister a bit more leeway and power to not have to increase any taxes and then just continue on the path in terms of improving our fiscal, pay down debt, and get us back into a better financial situation for the coming years.
Can you believe it? 2 hours, Brother Hassan, has just flew through.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. This evening I'd like to thank all the guests who were linked up with us, with Professor and Brother Samuel Kennedy and Brother Hassan Mutala, who joined us in studio this evening. As we close tonight's News in Focus, we're reminded that while challenges remain, informed dialogues and active citizenship gives us reason to hope. Through accountability, engagement, and collective effort, positive change is possible. We leave you with this reminder in News in Focus. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not change the condition of a people until they change what is within themselves. From me, Sumaya Khan, I'd also like to thank our tech Zach for making the show possible. Good night and stay hopeful, inshallah, knowing that the Rand is doing very well. Assalamu alaikum.
Really gets under my skin when my cake or icing just doesn't